Nobody talks about how numb it feels sometimes within a marriage. You'll be laying next to your partner and you feel absolutely nothing. Not because they've done something to you, but because you are struggling internally with your own battles. You're struggling with depression. You might be going through some form of health issues. You're struggling at work, and everything feels more important than actually satisfying your partner, than actually being there present with your partner. We talk a lot about how finances affect marriages. We talk a lot about how differences in opinion in terms of raising children affects marriages, but we don't talk enough about how sex really impacts marriages and really plays a big part in people getting divorced. But today we're going to talk about it right here on the heart of it. Welcome. I'm your host, Andrea Thompson. Thank you so much for the love and support on the first two videos. For those of you who have subscribed, thank you so much for making the dream come alive as well, because you know that subscribing actually really does push this channel and helps to get it monetized. And we're hoping, why we like to do this, why we love to do this, for the fun of it, we also want to make some money from it. So if you've not already done so, make sure to go ahead and subscribe, like, share the video, make sure to interact with the post so that it can get to more people, so that we can start, making some money from it. And as we talk about money, we want to pay some bills. So thank you so much to our sponsors for today's episode, which is Kindred Co and Events, for all your events needs right here in Calgary. So if you are planning a corporate event, Kindred Co and Events, they've got you covered. So we're talking about your seminars, we're talking about your team building activities, we are talking about anything corporate, they've got you covered. They really do specialize in corporate events, but they also do weddings, they also do engagements. Listen, I really feel as though that any event that you have planned, just reach out to Kindred Co and Events, because they have you covered. Just let them know your vision and they'll help you to make it come alive. Last week's episode was a little bit heavy for me, and also so was the first episode, because I really talked about my life story. And if you've not already done so, go ahead and watch those two episodes so you can get to know me a little bit more, so you know who I am, what I'm about, and really where my heart is, at the heart of it. I don't know if that makes sense, but really, honestly, I say that jokingly, but seriously, I think that those two episodes will give you a better feel of who I am as a person and where I'm heading with this. I think that marriage has been so challenging for me. It has been one of the most challenging things for me. My marriage has been one of my longest term relationship. I've been with my husband for 10 years. And that is commendable. We've been married for 7 years this year, I think 8. So really, we've been together for 11 years, actually. This year would mark 8 years that we've actually been married. Out of the 8 years that we've been married, we've actually been together for 4 years of the 8 years, because we were living apart for the first 4 years. Long distance in a marriage, super challenging. But I do think that it has its benefits. And it has its benefits, and it also has the downside to it. But on tonight's episode, I want to talk about sex in a marriage, because a lot of people, especially women, we act as though sex isn't as important to us as it is to men. But I think it is very important to sustaining a marriage. So I really want to dive into that topic. How important is sex in marriage? How important is sex in your marriage? Because I also think that sex is something that's relative to the person and relative to your own sexual experience and what you desire in a partner and what you desire as a person. So how often should you be having sex in a marriage? Some experts say that at least once per week. I don't think that is a requirement for women though, but I feel like it's a requirement for men, that they need to go off at least once per week. And when I say not a requirement for women, I know that we have some women who want it a lot, but for the most part, women of a certain age, they don't always want it every single week. Where are my ladies who are like this? Let me know down below in the comment section. I personally think that the phase that you're at in your life really does affect your desire for sex, and we don't talk about that enough, that sometimes a woman don't want to have sex, not because she's not attracted to her partner, but because there's just so much that's going on in her head, about her life, her heart's desire, and that in that moment, her heart's desire may not be sex. So how do we balance that though, ladies? As women, how do we balance, meeting our partner's needs and actually meeting our goals. Because sometimes, as ambitious women, we get caught up in the I want to succeed, I want to start a new career, I want to go back to school, I have to take care of the kids, I have to take the kids to the doctor, I have to go to the dentist, I have all these extracurricular activities. And sometimes we end up putting our husband's needs on the back burner. So how do you balance that? A huge part of balancing that is communicating. Communicating when you're overwhelmed. Communicating when you need help. Letting your partner know that, hey, the romance start outside of the bedroom. Because I think culturally our Jamaican men lack that awareness. The awareness that, listen, when I came to you and I was talking to you about my day at work, that was foreplay. That was foreplay. Foreplay was when I was in the kitchen and I was, by the sink and you were getting something from the fridge and I gently brushed up against you. But you were too focused on your phone to notice that I was really foreplaying with you. And I know that sometimes we as women, we need to be a little bit more direct. And kudos to the women who are very direct and their partners are very responsive to that. However, sometimes I think that men act oblivious to the fact that women need more than just a tap on the shoulder and for them to roll over and be ready. Readiness starts way before that. So some people will argue that sex is actually an obligation in a marriage, that once you've signed that contract, once you've walked down the aisle, once you've said that for better or for worse, you automatically should just be having sex with your partner, with your husband specifically, just because he wants it, not necessarily because you want it as a woman. And I call bullshit on that, because it's my body. It's my body, and I still think that women should have autonomy over themselves, especially over their reproductive organs. Like, if I am not in the mood, you can't get me to turn over. If I'm not in the mood mentally, what type of sex are we gonna have? So I really think that men should learn more how to stimulate their women's mind mentally, because we are people who, most women, because I don't want to speak for all women, most women are stimulated mentally before they're stimulated physically. And if you learn the art of doing that, then your woman would be ready most of the time. But you also have to learn the rhythm of your woman in terms of sometimes she might be going through things. For a woman like myself who is approaching 40, there's so much that is happening within my body right now. And I'm not always going to be in that mode. And so therefore, my husband needs to recognize that, listen, she's going through things that will not allow her to always feel as though she's ready and open like a clothespin. Yes, me not a clothespin. Me is not a clothespin. And so therefore, he has to learn now how to stimulate my mind and how to also give me space and allow me to just be in those moments when I am not willing and ready to do that. I really want to add though, when the marriage has become sexless, it is a dead marriage. How long have you gone without sex in your marriage? For the people who have gone long without sex, what was the reason? How long did you go? As much as we want to talk about marriage as a partnership when it comes to owning a home and raising the children, I think the intimacy part of it is what is going to keep you together as a couple. And a lot of people are not recognizing that enough, because we have now gone to the phase where it is acceptable to just cohabitate, to just coexist with somebody just because you have a house together, just because you have children together, and then you call that a marriage. That's not a marriage. You guys are roommates. You are roommates. Call it what it is, no man. You are roommates. It's not a marriage. Marriage should have an intimacy portion of it. But, and I do, don't get me wrong, I do believe that marriages go through phases. And because I talked about this in another video that I did. Marriages go through different phases, and those phases will impact how much you feel about the person, like how excited are you about the person, and also how obligated you feel to meet their needs. And notwithstanding that, no matter what phase you're going through, if you are not still bossing it up in some way, shape, or form, it doesn't have to be every day, because let's be honest, when you've been married for a period of time, that changes. And I think society has sold us this dream that You have passionate sex all the time where you're ripping off each other's clothes and it's just steamy and hot. And, like some scandal sex when the president was, with Olivia Pope. It's not always like that. Marriage is not always like that. And that's just the reality, is that sometimes the very routine, very boring stuff is equally as satisfying, right? It's equally as satisfying as a marathon. And so we need to normalize talking about the fact that sometimes it gets dead and it gets boring as that sometimes. But that is also okay. And that is also good. Where are my married people? Let me know down below in the comment section if you understand what I'm saying. If you've been married for over 5 years, I guarantee you that you've actually experienced this. Where it's just routine, but you don't want to fall into that routine where it's always like that. But if you're having no sex at all, then that, I believe, is a dead marriage. Why do people stop having sex in a marriage? Is it because they stop desiring each other? Is it that you don't find your husband attractive anymore? You don't find your wife attractive? To be honest, sometimes those things are true. Sometimes that happens and we can't rule that out. But some of the most common reasons why people stop having sex in a marriage has to do a lot with resentment, disagreements, the everyday stuff, I don't want the couch to be here. I want the couch to be over there. The cars, the how you maintain the house, the how you handle the children. Those are some of the reasons why people actually stop having sex. It's sad, it seems simple, but the lack of communication that exists within marriages results in those things happening slowly over time. So you don't have sex this week, you don't have sex next week, then next week and weeks and weeks and weeks become months. Then soon you realize that you don't even find your partner desirable. It happens in marriage where people stop having sex. But when you're really in a marriage for the long run, then you have to work on that. And working on that looks like acknowledging the reasons why you have stopped having sex. It starts with honest conversations. It doesn't start within the bedroom. Guys, that's for you. Because I think a lot of you think that you just jump back into the bedroom and we just need to start having sex again. No, it starts with an honest conversation. Talk with your partner. Find out what's at the root of why she doesn't want you to touch her. Deal with the issues. If it's infidelity and you decide to stay, ladies, then you have to deal with that. You have to go and get therapy. You have to learn to trust your partner again. And it goes both ways. Let me not just say ladies, because sometimes you do have men who are cheated on as well. So if it's an infidelity issue, then you have to go ahead and get the help that you need to get that corrected, to get the trust restored over time. But it starts by reconnecting with your partner, but reconnecting outside of the bedroom. Another important thing to consider is that you might just be lacking some fun in your relationship. So date your partner, schedule those dates, because if you don't, they will never ever happen. They won't happen. Ladies, don't always leave it up to the men. I know that we would love for them to just have some sense and just date us and just plan the date and plan. If you know that you're strong in that area, plan the dates. Just use his credit card. But I know you don't want to plan it all the time. So have a conversation with your partner and you guys take turns in planning the dates. But make it happen. Be deliberate about spending time together, because it takes work to correct the disconnect, to reconnect again with your partner. And the last thing I really want to leave you with is to know the difference between a dry season and a dead season. Because let's be honest, sometimes it's dead. Sometimes it's really dead. And I think we all know it in our hearts when it's really dead. So know how to navigate a dry season different from a dead season. And if you're in a dead season, then it means that you have to have that honest conversation and decide whether or not it's time to move on. Sex in a marriage is not just about pleasure. It is about being known, really known by someone who you chose. And when that stops, something profound goes quiet in a relationship. And quiet doesn't necessarily mean that it's over. Sometimes it just means that it's time, past time, for you to say the things that you are scared to say. And let me tell you something. You see, that conversation, that realization will bring you even closer to your partner when you really open up and let them in and speak about the things that you've been scared. Because somewhere in between your fears, your desires, lies the truth. And that is the heart of it. Thank you so much for watching. If you've not already done so, please make sure to subscribe, like, and comment down below if this video has resonated with you. Share it with a married friend who you know needs to see it. And I will catch you guys in the next video. Thank you. Happy Friday, and I'll see you next week.